Just the same shit.
Even worse and even more crabbit.
How's it going?
Oh, shite. Just shite.
Fucking ranty podcast.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself.
Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone, and welcome to the next episode and the new season of the I Ready podcast. Yes, season 12, episode 1. I'm your host, as ever, Derek, and with me is my co-host, is Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Oh, Derek, 12 seasons, and I think this one's going to start off very ranty. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I think we finished off last season with the same kind of rant, and it's really just continued on.
Oh, no.
I mean, ultimately, you kind of look forward to the end of the season, especially after one that we've never won the league. You look forward to recharging your batteries. And as much as there's been no games to cover, obviously we had the Euros as well, which were absolute shit as well. It's been an absolute calamity on and off field from Rangers, and it's been so draining, Dave. So draining. We'll get into it very, very shortly, but I'm finished with the season before it's even begun.
Yeah, so that's the concludes season altogether. We'll just no bother, Derek. We'll start again afresh next year, I think. What do you think?
Oh, I'm almost tempted, Dave. But anyway, well, I'm not even going to go into certain sections because there's no certain sections. It's just going to be one continuous rant, I think, tonight. So
we will try and keep it as light-hearted as possible, but I think it's going to be difficult.
Yes, you said that in the last podcast as well, I'm sure.
I know. And it's no change. It's the hope that kills you, Derek. I think someone said that. You know, at the end of last season, we were still hopeful that we were going to go on and win the league. That fizzled out. We were hopeful we were going to win the cup. That fizzled out. And then at the end of the season, we thought, well, you know, we've got the manager in at least. We'll have a huge clear out. We'll have new players coming in, and that sort of fizzled out as well, isn't it? So it's. But as I say, I'll let you get into it.
If it's not the hope that kills you, it's Rangers that kill you. That way. So this is going to start the rant, and I want to preface this by saying we do this podcast, Dave. We are not in the know, as somebody kind of tried to claim to me on Twitter the other day. And we do this because it's our opinion. And just because we do a podcast, it doesn't say that our opinion is any better or any more valid than anybody else. This is my rant. I'm giving you my opinion, and Dave's giving his opinion. And sometimes Dave and I, our opinions agree. So we'll see what happens here.
Sometimes.
But to be honest, Dave, and I put this out on Twitter as well, I get that things are not great just now. There's off-field issues, there's on-field issues, as we'll get into. But the scattergun approach to the criticism is just absolutely mental. I'll include even this thing where Clement has came out and said that he had different expectations in October when he came in, and fans have taken that as, oh, the board have definitely lied to him, sack the board. No, that's not what he said whatsoever. There's a big difference between him saying the board told me one thing and I've been now given another thing to, oh, my expectations were one thing, it's not panned out that way. That's basically what he said, Dave. And it's just continually snowballed after snowball, and everything largely in part because of Rangers' silence on a lot of issues. They've just allowed that vacuum to be filled with utter shit. Not even just from the media types, not even from other fan groups, from like other teams. Our own fans are filling that void with utter shite now as well, Dave, aren't they?
And social media, Derek, as you know, we all love, but we all hate it equally as well, because people come on and express their opinions, and half the time you don't actually know who it is that you're actually engaging with. And a lot of these times, I think it's people on the wind-up. Other times it's people being completely irrational. Other times it's people that are maybe under the influence, Derek, I don't know. But some of the stuff that I've seen on social media just over the last week has been quite incredible. People demanding that the manager's going to be getting sacked. And, as you say with the board, there's a lot of ins and outs with the board, Derek. But the whole thing with Clement, as you said, when he said he had expectations that have changed, so have we. We had expectations as well, Derek. We were at one point riding the wave thinking that we were going to be going on to win that league, and it didn't pan out like that because of injuries, because of certain players not turning up and stuff like that. But the last thing that I would be saying would be sack the manager, because the one thing that I do think is we do have a man there to take us forward. And this whole panic of everybody firing in, he'll be losing his job by Christmas, and if we get knocked out of Europe and get beat by Celtic in the first Old Firm game, he'll be gone. That's, we've tried that the last few managers, it's no worked. But I do genuinely think that we've got a man to take us forward, Derek, but he just needs to be backed.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get into it. There's been a lot to cover. A lot of it is obviously older news, but we've not really had our proper say in it. So we'll go right back to the start, more or less just at the start of the end of the season. And out of nowhere, James Bisgrove left the club after accepting a role in the Middle East. An interim executive structure was put in place with Bennett, Clement, Coppin and the football board filling that role. We still don't know anything else on that one there. It drew a lot of comment, mostly happy that he's leaving. I still don't think he ultimately lost the stigma of the Australian Cup debacle, which at the end of the day, it was his job to present a commercial opportunities to the board, and it was the board that accepted it, which we'll get into very shortly. I drew the ire of some fans as some were complaining at the high turnover of board members, as you've alluded to, Dave, and managers as well, and they wanted stability. And I pointed out that some fans are constantly wanting the board sacked and the manager sacked, so until they stop that kind of nonsense, there won't be stability. I think it's a perfectly valid claim to make. However, as usual, because it's shown the slightest favour towards the board, I was seen as a board bootlicker.
Definitely. That's definitely as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I mean, to the extent, Dave, that someone wanted to kick the fuck out of me. I mean, who needs enemies, Dave? Really? But, of course, over the last 5 years at least, the board have made mistakes. No board is always going to get it right. And this is going back to various things. Now, we're talking about backing managers. Did they back Gerrard? Yes. And they gave him 3 years to do that. And the fans gave him 3 years as well, which is a big key point here. The fans gave him time. The board actually backed him by allowing him to keep players rather than sell when we should have. It was his job to use those players to get Champions League qualification. He failed, so he didn't get more money. And that money that he was allowed to keep for in terms of players, it was already front loaded. So we were a money losing club at that point, and we still were up until 2 seasons ago. Did the board back Gio? No, that was a big mistake, I think. Did they appoint Beale? Yes. Again, turned out to be a big mistake. And I said that, and you can go back in various podcasts. I did say that at the time I felt that was a mistake and an easy option. Did they back him? Yes. Very much so. And that's something I don't think you can fault the board for, because if they never backed him, then there would have been all hell breaking loose. The board would have been blamed for not backing the manager. Turned out to be a mistake, unfortunately, but that was part of the issue. Did the main people from that board leave? Yes, they did. Apparently, John Bennett is the only one from the original 2015 board that's even there anymore. So there's been various board members come and go in that time. So how can you have a go at the board now when Clement hasn't had a full season and there's been no money? Again, you look at what Gerrard done. He was given 3 years. We need to keep doing the same. As you've said, Dave, we've sacked managers after half a season, after a season. It's not worked so far. No. We're just going to continue this cycle if we don't back the right people.
100%. I sort of alluded to that just before you said that. We can't keep going on like that. And you were talking about Gerrard there, Derek. We all, as you say, the fans gave him the time as well. Gerrard only won one trophy in the 3 years that I was there. Philip Clement's been in for 6 months and he's won one trophy and got us very close to winning the league. And like I say, I'm still putting a lot of that down to injuries to key players, or we know it is definitely that we fell short at the end. But in my opinion, I think that Clement's done very well considering the position that he was put in with the squad of players he's got. And I just think he needs to be backed. We need to be patient. We can't keep going on like this all the time, constantly. And I think he's a proper football man. He's a proper football manager. I don't think that we had that with Bale. I think even Gio was sort of too nice, too quiet, I think, in a lot of ways also, although I agree, he didn't get back. So I do think we've got the right man in there, Derek. I hope that I'm proven correct for next year, but we can't keep going on. And it's quite incredible what you're saying as well about the board. People constantly coming on, sack the board, get the board changed, but we've only got one remaining board member since the 2015 season. Shows that the board members have gone. So I don't know where all this is coming from as well. It's impatience. It's also lack of winning. It's lack of trophies, even though Clement did get the League Cup. And I do see people's patience, but when I'm looking and I see things like this is the worst Rangers team in my life and all of that, I think a lot of people have got to remember what happened 12 years ago, Derek, to see the position that we've been in. So it's certainly nothing like that. Me and you have been through it, but I don't see where the impatience is. And I'm as annoyed as anybody with the lack of trophies and the fact that they're, winning the league nearly every season. But we've got to see the big picture as well. And we've got to see where the club is at the moment. And as you're about to get into, the off-field stuff is, as bad and as baffling as everything in on-field as well.
Yeah. I mean, just to finish off the whole Bisgrove situation here, I mean, he was an absolute brilliant commercial director. I'm not caring what anybody says. You look at the bottom of our website and you look at the amount of deals he's brought in. You look at various things he's done as well. In terms of Edmiston House, I know people are going to go on about that, but that's another story. I mean, claims of, well, it was easy because he had a starting point of nothing. I mean, that's nonsense, because arguably it's harder to build a brand from nothing when there is no track record. Arguments were also made that he was not qualified to be a CEO. What makes you qualified to be a football CEO? What would make a good football CEO? You look at his CV before he came to us. You look at a job description of a CEO and tell me how he's not qualified. There is a natural progression in that way. A CEO doesn't just become a CEO. He has a proven track record in various other positions before they become CEO. And if nobody's noticed, there's not an abundance of supposed leading CEOs battering down our door over the past 10 years to put their name in the ring for that. So it was a baffling one. Now, on Twitter, I kind of said that the fact that I just don't understand where this hatred from comes. And apparently because we are a podcast about Rangers, we should know all the ins and outs. Now, somebody said that he had done bad things. He was an absolute scumbag. And I was like, well, go and tell me, because I'm not aware of it. I don't spend my life 24/7 on Twitter. And the guy said, I don't need to. Now, I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not, but I went looking for this supposed scumbaggery, and I found a couple of things on follow that, bastion of great information, that one there. And guess who it was? It was the exact same person on Twitter that was giving out this information. So there's no verified sources of what he's saying. All he said that he heard from somebody within the club that he knows, and Bisgrove was trying to pull shady deals with various people, and the whole point, the whole Kitman debacle that they've taken the club to court over unfair dismissal, that was because of Bisgrove. I don't know, Dave. If that's true, then right, fair enough. But there's no sources to back that up apart from this one guy on Twitter and on follow, the same guy. There's other podcasts that are bigger than us, haven't mentioned that at all. If Bisgrove was as big a scumbag and he had done so many scummy things like that has been claimed, then surely that would have been in the public knowledge, because there was a lot of other people that weren't aware of what he had done as well. So, Dave, I'm taking that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, and again, though, Derek, I keep telling you, you don't know who you're engaging with on social media. That's the problem. We don't know who this person is. They maybe have a personal vendetta against the guy, I don't know. But like you said, if there was as many bad stories about Bisgrove out there, it would have been everywhere. I mean, the papers, the papers, but the mainstream media would have been absolutely full of it because we know that they love any type of negativity when it comes to Rangers. So it would all have been out there. So, like you, I'm taking it with a pinch of salt. The board are very, very easy targets for fans when they are not splashing tens of millions of pounds for us to go out and sign whoever we want. But unfortunately, in this day and age, we keep getting told that club across the city have got hundreds of millions in the bank and they're not going out and splashing the cash on players and bringing in every single player that they want, as the fans seem to think that they're going to do. So it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And when we're in the position that we're in at the moment, we know what needs to happen, or the fans with a bit of sense know what needs to happen. There needs to be a lot of players go out first before we bring players in. And the board are an easy target, and he seems to be the sort of figurehead for the board for fans to vent hatred at. So he becomes an easy target. But like you, I've not seen any evidence out there. And if anybody's got any evidence out there to show us, then please do and change your minds. But I certainly haven't seen anything like that either.
No, surrounding the one issue that I think that the board have got with the CEO is the fact that we've not appointed anyone yet. We can't have, board members and Clement and Coppin and all that doing the job of a CEO. The club doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that. And then you've got the likes of John Bennett. He's taken on roles as well, and he's been completely absent of anything, which the next section will get into as well. And it's not a good look. When Bisgrove was appointed, I think it was less than a week that from the point when the CEO left before to him being appointed. Why is it now months later and we still don't have a CEO? That is not good business sense whatsoever. So that needs sorted out very quickly. The big thing though, Dave, from the summer so far, anyway, is the stadium. Yeah. Now, Dave.
Debacle, yep.
Yeah, it's a debacle. And I'll tell you my sympathies. But obviously, over the next 3 summers, we plan to upgrade the disabled access within the stadium. This year, the Copeland stand was getting done. Well, due to delays in shipments of steel beams from Asia, work is delayed and it's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Now, Dave, I'm sympathetic to this to a degree because I know things can happen in construction. But the problem is, over the last few years, if something bad that was going to happen to Rangers, it always does. And this is just another one in a long list of things that happen. Now, Dave, I've got a basic understanding of the construction industry. There's been a lot of calls for, well, why wasn't the steel sourced locally or in the UK? Basically, because it would have cost a hell of a lot more. Why wasn't it ordered on time is another question. There's a good chance it probably was. Why wasn't it ordered and then stored? Well, have you got a storage facility, Dave? Has anybody got a storage facility? The cost of that, not to mention the security to make sure it doesn't get stolen. Usually in construction, especially one-off projects like this, there's a timetable, and you don't have, say, if you were building a house, you don't have the A-frames for the roof coming and being on site well before the foundations have even dug, because you're opening yourself up to theft, damage, etc., the materials deteriorating. You don't do that. So I can imagine that's what's happened in this case. It's been reported that someone was fired by Rangers for this. Nobody has an idea who it is, and that's another big communication issue. Was it an actual Rangers employee or was it a contractor? I said online that these things can happen. It's how you deal with them that will be remembered. And once again, the club have came up way short in that respect, haven't they? As I said before, they've allowed a vacuum to be created and filled with the usual shite from the usual people. Claims of asbestos in the stands. The whole place needs knocked down. Of course, it's absolute shite, but because there's radio silence from Rangers on this one, this is going to happen. Even if it was an update every week, every half a week or something like that, just to say we're still working on things, that would be better than nothing. It's been a shambles that way, Dave.
I can't really add anything to what you've said there, Derek. The one thing that I would have hoped would have been that they would have had contingency plans in place rather than the way everything has panned out. And I'm sure you're about to get into, what's going to be happening with the alternatives and stuff like that. But That has been quite annoying, because anybody that has dealt with the building industry, whether it's a job that you're getting done at your house or a company or anything, that there's likely to be problems or likely to be delays going to happen. And I would have liked to have thought that the Rangers board would have had a contingency plan in place ready to go for such eventualities happening, and it appears that hasn't been the case, and they've had to scamper about at the last minute trying to get things in order. That has been the biggest disappointment to myself, and I'm sure as you're about to get into what the alternatives are and the cost and stuff like that, that's but we're going to be paying for that in other ways rather than just us having to change grounds, and it's going to be a big financial loss to us as well.
Yeah, I mean, talking of financial losses, of course, fans from Aberdeen, Celtic, Dundee all wanted us punished because of what happened with us in Dundee last year. No, you dickheads, the situations are not even remotely alike. We're carrying out structural works in a stadium which is for disabled access, and we've notified of the issues relatively early on. Dundee sacked their groundskeepers, failed to maintain their stadium, spent the maintenance money on players, which, given their league position in the end, gave them an advantage, an unfair one, I would have said. They had Victorian drainage and had 5 postponements in the last season alone, hours before kick-off. If you go back to the 2017, when Hearts were building their main stand, they had similar issues with delays in materials, and they couldn't play at Tynecastle for the start of the season. They never got punished because they ended up keeping on and playing at Murrayfield, because we played some games there, didn't we, Dave?
Yeah, we did, yep.
The SPFL actually helped Hearts in that case by switching their home fixtures, and they only had one out of their first 9 games at home. So that's what happened there. No punishments, but of course, big bad Rangers give them punishment. But speaking of the fixtures, they've been released Saturday the 3rd of August away to Hearts. That's our 12:30 kickoff. That's opening up the season. We're now playing on Tuesday or Wednesday the 6th or 7th of August. That's away to either Dynamo Kiev or Partizan Belgrade in the Champions League qualifiers, third round, leg 1. Looks as if it's going to be Dynamo Kiev, Dave, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually watched the game last night, Derek. That's how sad I am when it comes to Rangers. I sat and I watched the game, and Dynamo Kiev looked very, very impressive, but at the same time Partizan looked very, very poor defensively, like very poor. So I don't know if it's a bit of both, or that the Dynamo Kiev are a good team, but certainly very attack-minded. Two wingers, 2 strikers. They were on the front foot the whole game, and it finished, was it 5-2 to Dynamo Kiev? And that was the
6-2,
first leg. 6-2, barring a miracle for Partizan. It's going to be Dynamo Kiev that we face. So it's going to be a tough game, Derek, and we know that, and they're a very, very famous traditional club like ourselves. So a big game. It will be on neutral ground both times, even although just that's the way that it's going for us. But they obviously will not be playing in the Ukraine, and I think it's possibly Poland that they'll be playing their game in as well. But we'll see what happens in their next in their next leg away in Belgrade. But I can't see Partizan Belgrade pulling that one back.
No. Next game after that, Saturday the 10th of August at home to Motherwell. Tuesday the 13th of August, that'll be the second leg of the qualifiers. Saturday the 24th of August at home to Ross County, and then Sunday the 1st of September away to Celtic. That was originally drawn on the Saturday, but they've moved it for television coverage for the Sunday. So, as Dave was alluding to, it's now been arranged that at least 2 of the home Premiership fixtures, one of the Champions League qualifiers, and possibly a League Cup tie if we get drawn at home, will be played at Hampden. Now, it's really the lesser of 2 bad situations. We were obviously toying up with Murrayfield. We played obviously the Man United game at Murrayfield there, which we'll get into, and there was a lot of issues apparently with access to the stadium, transport into the stadium as well. So lesser of 2 bad situations. It's not like for like seating, quite obviously. We're having to pay for their pitch to get redeveloped afterwards. Once again, more off-field cost, which I hope to hell this whole issue was the fault of a contractor rather than ourselves, which there was insurance built into that, because it's going to cost us a hell of a lot of money, once again, Dave, for something that really shouldn't have done. Yep,
100%. And that's, I think, what has been a huge halt in any buying of players, anything that the manager has been promised It's got to be now, Derek. If you think about it, it's got to be. It's going to be huge financial cost to us, and that's going to impact on just about everything, the whole running of the club now. And is that what the manager was alluding to with regards to expectations? When things like that happen, it's out of his hands. It's out of the board's hands as well, as we've discussed. But is that possibly what he was alluding to?
It could be one of a number of things, Dave. Couldn't it have been? But what's worse about this whole situation is we've got to go through this same worry next season and in the season after, obviously with the Broomland stand getting done next season. And then the even bigger stand, the Sandy Jardine stand, the season after that. Some have called for this not to happen now, but you can't really pause stuff like this. Planning permissions went through. I think you've got 3 years to go through with it from the start. So I don't know if this would really class as part of that works. I don't know. But it's something that needs done at the end of the day. And I would like to think there's a wee bit better planning in place this time for whatever reason, whether it be a contractor or us. We get everything in place better this time. Surely
they've got to learn from their mistakes. Surely they've got to learn everything that's happened to make sure it doesn't happen again, so that it runs smoothly. It's if they didn't and we're in the same thing again next year, that's when heads do need to roll, Derek. But I would surely like to think that they'll get everything, things sorted, and we won't be in the same predicament next year.
Yeah, I would like to think, but who knows with us, Dave? Who knows? So we'll get to the actual decent stuff, but I still can't even get myself, excited about that.
Decent stuff?
Well,
where have you been?
So we'll get to transfers now. Dave, we've had quite a few incoming so far. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it Hefty? Jefty?
Jefty, I think it is.
Yep.
I mean, Derek, I'm going by the way that Tom Miller on Rangers TV's been pronouncing it. So if that is what I'm basing myself on, then God help us, because Tom, oh my God, some of his pronunciations have been absolutely terrible. So I was calling him Jefty, but with the fact that he is, from Brazil, it's probably pronounced, Jefty is what I think it would be. So that's what I'm going by.
Yes, he's a 20-year-old fullback from Apwell. That was confirmed in the last pod there. We've got Clinton Nsiala is a 20-year-old defender from AC Milan. Connor Barron, 21-year-old midfielder, signs from Aberdeen on a 4-year deal for a development fee as he was out of contract. The fee apparently is still being negotiated. We apparently offered £525,000, which is way more than reasonable.
Way more, I would say.
Yep, Aberdeen want more, and reports of a sell-on also. I mean, if that's honestly true, they're fucking off their head. They really are.
Yeah.
Pie in the sky stuff. Aberdeen fans have taken him signing as well as a cold bucket of sick. They're absolutely, how dare that fucking Hun, sign for Rangers. Unbelievable. They do it every time, don't they?
Again, the Aberdeen board coming out to do that to try and appease fans, to make it look as if they're doing something because the big bad Rangers dared to come in and sign one of their best players. That's the way I'm seeing it, Derek. I think that's way more than what we should be paying for a guy who's at the end of his contract. He is a young player and he does look very, very promising, but I think they can go away and daydream some more, because I think that's more than enough if that is what the fee's going to be.
Yeah, so I think that's might be going to a tribunal with the SPFL, so we'll see.
Yep.
Next one, Liam Kelly, 28-year-old goalkeeper, is out of contract at Motherwell. Had a good season last year. 2-year deal. He was previously with us. He's homegrown, and it also allows us to sell Robbie McCrory, who really needs to get some game time, which I'll get into that now. Leon Balogun signed a year extension. I thought it was confirmed in the last pod, but it was just reported that was going to happen. Oscar Cortez signs a year-long loan extension with us, with an obligation this time to buy at the end on a 4-year deal. Great business. Also pushes the fee into next season's for financial fair play reasons. Hamza Igmani, I think that's how you pronounce that one, a 21-year-old striker from Moroccan side AS FAR. Apparently he's a really raw player, a lot to learn, but we'll see. 15-year-old Alexander Smith has been retained and signed as a pro contract with us after offers from down south. No idea what he's like, or what he'll turn out to be like, but this is the kind of thing I think we need to be doing, because if he is a gem, we've retained a good player, and then we can command a good fee for him, like we did for Patterson, rather than just the development fee like we done for Billy Gilmour.
Yep.
Also in that same vein, 15-year-old Alfie Hutchison, we've signed him from Hearts for a development fee, and Robbie Fraser has signed an extension until the summer of 2026, as has Mason Munn until summer of 2028. So quite a few players there. Basically, apart from Connor Barron, Liam Kelly, can't really say I've heard of most of them. Obviously Cortez with us last year but injured, Leon Balogun as well. The rest of them I can't get excited about, Dave, because you know what happens.
Yeah, I know. Derek, you know that I was genuinely excited about Cortez after we played Hearts and we hammered them at Ibrox. I genuinely thought this was the guy that was going to go and kick on and be like our main man going into the end of the season. Again, injury starved him and us of that. We've got him back. I'm really pleased about that. I don't know what it'll be like coming back from injury. We can only hope that he gets, fully fit and back to doing what he was doing just before he was injured. Connor Barron, for the sort of two and a bit games that I've watched in the pre-season, looks an excellent piece of business. I'm really impressed by him. A real terrier, Stuart McCall type. He's just a wee guy, but he's first to every ball. The way that he presses other players and the other teams, wins the ball back, is fantastic. I thought him and Diomande looked very good together in the flashes that I've seen. So we'll wait and see how that one is. The biggest puzzler for me is this Ignomani player, because we've spent well over £2 million for this guy. And for that amount of money, Derek, we're expecting a player to be able to come straight in and go straight into the team. But as the manager alluded to, he stated that he's never played at this level before. He's still got a lot to do, both physically and mentally. And it sounds like this is more of a player for the future rather than a player that we're bringing straight in. I don't know if you got the same vibe as what I did, Derek, when I heard that, but I'm a wee bit puzzled about that. Don't get me wrong, if he turns out to be an absolute star, then fantastic. But I think with the way that the team is now, if we're spending that amount of money, we're needing players that can contribute sort of straight away, aren't we?
Aye, absolutely. And I did get that impression as well with what Clement was saying. The last thing about incoming so far is Andries Olderink, I think that's how you pronounce that as well, has come in as our assistant manager. He's a Dutch coach who has worked at Royal Antwerp, FC Twente, Ajax and Reading. So that's a new number 2 came in. So I don't know what to make of that. But obviously what was alluded to as well in the last kind of week or so is the fact that we need to sell more players anyway than the ones I'm going to get into before we can bring other players in. Now, people were shocked at that. I couldn't understand why people were shocked at that. It was quite clear. We've got a wage bill at £64 million a year. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 people of top earners off the wage bill, but there's still a lot more to come out. And with the way people were talking in the closed season as well, there was more than just A5 that were going to leave, as well as a couple of bit part players. So, yeah, we're not a money pit, Dave. We do need to trim the wage bill, but we also do need to get rid of some dead wood ultimately. Yeah. Some players that have been here too long, which is a big part of the leadership group, which we'll get into. I don't understand why that was puzzling people, that we just don't have this money pit. This is how we've got into problems the last time. This is how Gerrard wasn't backed ultimately when he was allowed to keep players, because we had already front-loaded all the investment, allowed them to get the players in initially. His next step was to get to the Champions League, then he would get more money, but he failed to do that. So we can't just keep front-loading investments like this, getting nothing for it and become a loss-making club, especially considering we're on a financial fair play watch list. And I was hearing some rough details about they're changing something as well to do with your income, and they're reducing the amount that you're allowed to lose each season as well, something like that. So it's difficult for us to make money when we're not using the player trading model. We need to do that first.
The thing that puzzled me more was the amount of fans who were at the end of last season in a complete rage at the players that we had in the squad who had been there for quite some time. And that was even after hearing certain players were definitely leaving, because all I saw, and again, it's down to social media, and I keep saying it, you don't know who, but it wasn't just 1 or 2, it was, almost everybody, the deadwood in the team, stealing a wage, they're not good enough, Barisic, Goldson, Tavernier, Jack, Roof, Lundstrom, all these guys all need to go. Well, they're nearly all away now, Derek, but people are still going absolutely mental that we're not. I don't know whether it's just the fact that we've not replaced them all yet or no, but we know that things don't work like that. But it was made quite clear, especially with the manager over the last few weeks. And as I say, I think it's got a lot to do with the stadium situation that before any players come in, we need to get rid of players. But it's the outrage for a lot of the fans, when we are, a lot of players are linked with, going to other clubs. But this is what's got to happen. It's got to happen. And you alluded to it, and I'm sure you're going to get in the whole thing with Tav, and there's people saying, if we're only going to get £1 million for him, then, there's no point in us selling him. But the amount of wages that all these top earners were on, and you calculate it over a season, it's absolutely massive to us. So we need to get these players off the wage books. And I don't see what the outrage is that a lot of people are coming away with. It's baffling. And is it just the fact that we've not went out and signed, 10 new players? Is that what it is? Is it just people being impatient, or it's just I'm baffled by it all?
I think that, to be honest, I can see where people are coming from, because it's been an amalgamation of different things. That the end of last season, the stadium issues, the fact that not everybody's off the books that we need to get off the books. There's not a lot of people coming. Well, there is people came in. I mean, people were saying that Clement hasn't been backed. So far, he actually has been backed. And you've got to remember, when we do deals that, right, it's a loan with an obligation to buy for next year, well, that's taken off next year's transfer fee. So already, I think it's £4 million odd, £4.5 million that we need to stump up for Cortez next season. So I might get my figures wrong there, but if that's the case, well, that's next season's transfer fee already £4 million down. So, but I mean, Dave, we're in the realms of going to be called happy clappers for the board here, and you know what, Dave, that angers me just as much as things like when you were talking about in the last podcast, we pay your wages and all that kind of thing. Or it's just because we don't see the same viewpoint as you can't turn around and say you're a happy clapper for the board. You see this, I pay my money into the club, I deserve an opinion. Yeah, but so does everybody pay money in some way or the other. If it's buying shirts, if it's RTV, if it's tickets, everybody pays money into the club somehow. So it doesn't mean you're any better a fan because you spend £10,000. It's just you're putting more into the club. Doesn't give you any more say, Dave, does it? Anyway, rant over there. Anyway, players out this time, and as I can't remember if this happened in the last podcast or not, but at the end of their contract, John Lundstrom, Borna Barisic, Kamal Roof, Ryan Jack and John McLaughlin. Now, Clement, I don't think, was too happy at the fact that these are potential assets that we could have sold for money, and we're just letting them leave for nothing, and that's a culture he wants to change as well. So it's one of these things. They'll run their time here. I'm not going to give any of them any stick or anything like that. It's a case of thanks for your service, good luck, and Godspeed.
It is, and I think maybe there would have been a couple of them. I think that the manager would maybe have kept, because we know that he was a fan of John Lundstrom, but he had made his mind up that he was going. But the rest of them, there's been a lot of people have been saying, guys like Jack and Roof, the injuries that these guys have had, they just never seem to be fit, and they were on huge wages. So it made sense for them to go. The amount of people calling for the likes of Barisic to go and stuff like that. Like I just I've been over all this. So it's guys who we've been expecting to go, and there's going to be a lot more, I'm sure, Derek, before the season starts.
Yeah, well, so far Robbie McCrory has signed for Kilmarnock, so good luck to him there, just not when he plays against us. And the only other main outgoing so far is Jay Hogarth has went out on loan again for the next 6 months to Queen of the South. I think he was there last year and they went to Wraith, I think, as an emergency. So, good luck to him there. He's obviously with us having Jack Butland in goals, and we've just signed our number 2. And
Kelly.
yeah, then he's got to go out there. Next thing, though, is a few kind of rumours floating about, and there was a bit of a bizarre take a couple of weeks ago where Todd Cantwell's agent, the former Liverpool defender Jose Enrique, was touting him and another player to a couple of agents, and ended up sending one to an Instagram message to what he thought was manager Luca Gotti. Turned out that it was a fan tactic account for Gotti, so it just shows you the murky world of agents, though, and it wasn't done through official channels. You would have thought that they've all got their own contacts to go through, but no, he was doing it through an Instagram messenger, which is a bit weird. At the time, we didn't know if this was, he has been told to find his player a new club, or he was just trying to work a move for his player, because at the end of the day, agents don't get big bonuses like they do for players staying at clubs. However, Clement confirmed after the Birmingham game last night that a while ago Cantwell said he wanted to move on. Clement asked him to go away and think about it, which he apparently did, and he came back saying he wanted to move. Quite simply, Dave, if someone doesn't want to play for us, it's a handshake and fuck off. A talented player he might be, but he didn't show it often enough. He spent too much time on social media, and he even quite recently got involved in a spat with Rangers fans who were criticising him. To me, Dave, and I put this out today, he's just another Josh Windass. A boy with talent, but also a boy who thinks he's more talented than he really is.
Unfortunately for him, Derek, he has got the talent, and he could have been a superstar for Rangers. I've got no doubt about that, but he didn't have it. He didn't have the mentality to do so. He's got all the skill and the ability in the world, this guy, and could be playing at a much, much higher level than he did with us, but unfortunately the mentality's not there. Sad to see him go, but last season he wasn't consistent enough for us. As you say, off the field, it was there was stories every day. And don't get me wrong. There's certain players that the media and referees love to hate, and he was the target for Rangers since Alfredo Morelos left, without a doubt. But he did have the playing ability to do it for us, but just not often enough. And as you say, if he's made it clear that he doesn't want to play for us anymore, then we go out, we get the biggest fee that we can get for him, which I don't think will be a lot considering everything that has happened with him off the field and stuff. But we just have to hope that we get the biggest fee possible for him. And, as you say, like the rest of them, thank him for his service. But if you don't want to be there, you can go.
Yeah, I mean, he done the exact same in Norwich as well before we signed him. So, one thing though is this is the kind of mentality of some fans, because one Rangers fan on Twitter today claimed that Clement is clueless over this because he's went out and publicly said, yeah, he wants to leave, he's not happy, I've put him in the B team because I need the other players focused. And then at the same time he's saying that he admits that, or this is this fan on Twitter, he admits that Todd makes a rod for his own back. But that's up to Clement to handle it. Then he goes on to criticise and say Clement's at fault for the way he handled it. So how can Clement win there? I mean, I don't get it, Dave. It's just madness. But
yeah, I know. It's I think, Derek, if fans and us had got our wish, and we the finances were great, and we'd went out and signed a couple of quality players, someone that was going to be playing in the same position as him, and we had went out the pre-season and looked really sharp and played really well, we wouldn't be hearing all this. But because that's not been the case, people are going to say that it's going to be a mistake that we let him go and stuff like that. But as I say, I'm just looking at it very basically. He said he doesn't want to be there. We can't force him to be there, and I don't want a player playing for Rangers that doesn't want to be playing for Rangers, so we need to get shot of him as soon as.
Yes. Now, obviously, the rumours are that there's a few other players that are going to leave. Now, Tavernier, it looks as if he's been talking to other clubs. A deal's been accepted. I don't know who it is. There's rumours that it's, out in the Middle East. There's rumours that it's out in Cyprus. There's rumours that it's a championship club down south. I don't know, Dave, but it looks as if he's going to go. People, you kind of alluded to the fact that people said that, we're only going to get £1 million from him. Now, that's not the case. It turns out that apparently the club that bid, I can't remember who the club was, but they bid £1 million short of what Rangers were wanting. Mm-hmm. So I think people are mistaking that one there. But to be honest,
I'm sure it was a Turkish club there. I think it was a club in Turkey that apparently, but again, we're only going by the snippets that we're seeing on social media and in the mainstream media. We don't know how true that is, but just like you're saying, it turns out that they were haggling over the price rather than that's how much money had been bid for him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're going to get that much anyway. I know people have got vast expectations. You know, as your captain, he's done the X, Y, and Z. You look at his stats. People are not buying a player for what his stats are. People are buying what he can do just now. He's going to be 33 this season, and he's only got 2 years left in his contract, I believe. So these kind of things happen. So we'll wait and see. I mean, people were saying about the money as well, and you've kind of said it as well. It's not just about the transfer fee. It's about getting him off the wage bill as well. But more importantly than that, it's a culture change that needs to happen on field. And whether you like it or not, Tavernier is a massive part of that culture. He's been the captain for a number of years. Everything goes through him. The way we play is designed to go down that side as well and use him as a creative outlet. Maybe we need to stop doing that. I would much rather have a right back that can defend and get a right winger to do a lot of the attacking stuff, rather than having Tavernier up and down that wing doing every single bloody thing that he can think of, like penalties, throw-ins, free kicks, everything, and allowing players in their natural positions to do things. I know modern football has changed and that doesn't always happen, but maybe that's the reason why we've not had a lot of success over the past few years. Next thing, Goldson as well. Now, he was meant to start last night against Birmingham. However, apparently a cemented deal came in for him and Clement allowed him to not play the game and go and talk to that club. So I don't know who it is. There was rumours that it was Aris Limassol. There was rumours that it was Birmingham. There was rumours that it was another club down south as well. So that deal looks as if it's going to go through. Again, Dave, I don't think it's so much about the money we could get for him. I think it's more about a culture change, and he's one of the ones that needs to go.
Yeah, no, he's one of the main ones, Derek. Don't get me wrong, when we won the league with him, superb. The following season, done well, but we saw what happened in the real big moments. You know, the Europa League final, the equaliser was down to him and him alone. It's happened so many times before. He's been the weak link in there, the big moments. It's been him that's failed to do with it. He's been a great servant, Derek, for the club. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to slate the guy completely, but things do need to change. The way the defence plays needs to change, and that starts, I think, with Connor Goldson. What we've been told, the new deal that he signed, it was, you know, he was on huge wages as well, so it would get him off that. And again, if he goes, I would wish him all the best, but we need to look to the future.
Yeah. And the last kind of rumour is obviously what's happening with Hadji. Now, his agent has kind of intimated that he's not going to be playing under Clement next season, so he's looking to get a new deal. Now, he's newly married, Hadji, as well. Know that he actually looked happy about it in the TV pictures. I mean, this shows you how much of a god he is out in Romania. His wedding was broadcast live in Romanian TV.
Yeah.
I mean, that's madness. But whether he was unhappy about getting tied down for the rest of his life, aye, or the fact that he was still trying to haggle a deal somewhere, I don't know. Now, people were talking about, you know, his £3 million. I got in an argument the other day as well about with someone, unlike me, Dave, to get in a Twitter argument.
It is, yeah, very unlike you.
Yeah. The fact, though, it's been a poor signing for £3 million. You know, he's only scored X amount of goals in 99 appearances. And when I pointed out the fact that, well, he was never a goal scorer, you know, he was never brought in as a goal scorer, he was brought in as a creative player, then they changed the tune. He's only done, you know, 21 assists in 99 games. I was like, aye, but you're being a wee bit harsh when he's had bit parts. It's not as if he's had, you know, 99 full 90-minute appearances. A lot of the appearances have been 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 60 minutes. You know, he's basically had 2 seasons out because of injury. One because he was literally out the full season because of the injury, a cruciate ligament, and the second season he went on for me, a bungled loan. Yes, send him out on loan by all means to a lesser league, which I can't see many. I mean, he went to bloody Spain for God's sake. Yeah. Send him out and get him a 6-month loan, but they bungled it. They should have brought him back, I think, and then started to play him, because it would have been no worse than what we had last season for large parts of it, especially when we had that injury crisis as well.
Yeah.
The same person couldn't understand why we gave him an extension. Well, the fact that we're going to get money from him. We've got a transfer fee potentially for him as well. That's the reason why we signed an extension for him. So, you know, this is what's angered me this close season, this scattergun approach. If it's not Hadji, it's Clement, it's the board, it's Bisgrove, it's New Edmondson House, it's fucking Tom, Dick and it's just, this is what I don't get. There are issues in certain areas, but just the scattergun approach to it really rips my neck. And I've said that before about stuff, but that's what Rangers Twitter is, Dave, isn't it?
It is. It's right at this moment in time. It is rather vile, Derek. I sat last night and I just kept shaking my head. And I did sit and watch the pre-season friendlies. I sat and watched that whole Birmingham City game last night, and it was awful. Rangers were poor, and I sat and I was shaking my head at that again. But I am under no illusions that players need to leave and we need to bring players in. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I was getting frustrated as well, but at no point am I one of these people that are saying that we need to, you know, sack the manager and, you know, get rid of everybody, start again, and that's all I'm seeing. That was all that I was reading last night on Twitter. And you've got to put yourself in the position that the manager's in at the moment. You know, he doesn't know what players are going to be there at the start of the season and who's not. They're desperate to try and bring in some experienced players. It's great that we're signing these young players, but we need experienced players that are going to play now. We've got a couple of massive games coming up very soon that we need the team to gel as quickly as possible, and it's very, very difficult at this point for the manager. So he's got my sympathies at this stage. I'm not a happy clapper at all. If I see that the board are making a complete arse of things, like I've said, that I'm not happy about everything that's happened with the stadium. I'm not happy with the fact that there doesn't seem to be a contingency plan, and it's all been done at the last minute. The whole move to Hampden and the amount of money it's going to take. I'm not happy with that either. But I'm a realist, Derek. These things happen, and we just have to hope and pray that over the next few days that there are some players brought in, whether they are loan players or whether we muster the money up through player sales. But we need at least another 3 or 4 players in before the season starts, and we're running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few rumours floating out there about a loan player for a loan signing for apparently a wonder kid from Manchester United, Hannibal Medjugorje, I think that's his name.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I hate when the media start going on about wonder kids because it never works out that way. Obviously, there's a couple of deadlines, the end of August for the main transfer deadline, but for registering the main squad for the Champions League, the 1st of August. So we've not a lot of time to do that in. So
exactly, yeah.
So, Dave, moving on to the games and the training that we've had, we went out and all the players came back to training on the 24th of June. 7th of July, we flew out to Netherlands for a training camp. 10th of July, we had a behind closed doors game against Standard Liège where it finished 0-0. 13th of July, we played against Ajax. It was not in the Ajax arena, it was in another stadium, only a few hundred tickets apparently. We lost 2-1, a defensive blunder, a great free kick then by Tom Lawrence, and then another blunder, an unusual blunder by Butland for a free kick where he let the ball go under him. Raskin, though, out injured with a bad tackle, came home wearing a moon boot, is going to be out for about 5 to 6 weeks, I think. So not great, was it, Dave?
No, it wasn't. I mean, there was a few positives in the game. You know, we didn't play too badly against Ajax, as you say. Really uncharacteristic error by Jack Butland for the second goal, but a real sickener for Nicholas Raskin, who looked as if he was possibly playing his way back into Philip Clement's team, certainly going by the start of the season. And, you know, I don't know how long he's going to be out. There's been a few things quoted, but I don't know, 100% when he's going to be able to get back training. So another, experienced player in that midfield that we're going to have to do without at the start of the season. Yep.
Next game we had was Saturday the 20th of July. It was away against Manchester United at Murrayfield, and we lost 2-0. Dave, I think you watched that, did you not?
Unfortunately, yes, I did watch it, Derek. First half was possibly one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. No inventiveness from Rangers, no desire, nothing. The only bright spark for me was Connor Barron. I thought he was excellent. Diomande, he linked up pretty well with him without him being anything special. But the two of them certainly did hook up well. But apart from Conor Barron, I can't say anybody played well. They didn't look interested whatsoever. Manchester United had a strong team out in the first half, but they also didn't really look interested. Man U scored a couple of good goals, don't get me wrong. Second half, it was a raft of changes, loads of the Manchester United youth team. And again, with Rangers, lots of the Rangers B players coming in as well. And, you know, as I say, we got beaten that game. It wasn't a great performance at all.
No, again, these pre-season friendlies, I don't take much notice in them. It's about building up some sort of fitness as well, maybe trying out a couple of different tactics, things, seeing what different combinations of players you can do. I would much rather lose these games than you know, the start of the league. You know, we've done the opposite before. We've had a great pre-season, been shit in the league. We've had a bad pre-season, and we've been great in the league. So we've been bad at both sometimes, which is the way this is maybe faring out to be. So I don't take much out of them. Obviously, odd note that the ticket prices were astronomical for this game. I think it started at £54 or something like that as well. And that's obviously because we've got in tow with this company as more or less compensation for them not suing us, that company that arranged the Sydney Cup that we pulled out of. I've said it before. I mean, that was obviously getting the blame. That was another Bisgrove thing. I've said it before. I've said it again. Bisgrove, his job was a commercial director at the time. His job was to get commercial opportunities. It was up to the board and the CEO at the time to sanction them. That's what happened there. Rangers fans ultimately got the game cancelled, rightly or wrongly. But if any Rangers fan out there that didn't think that there was going to be some sort of compensation needing to get paid, whether it be monetary or some quid pro quo deal with this company, which obviously this game was, and next season's friendly, whoever it may be against, that was always going to happen, Dave, wasn't it?
It was, and I don't see this as being a bad thing, Derek. It was good for the, you know, the fans to go to Murrayfield, although it was a bit of a morgue, you know, then the pitch was a bit of a disaster as well. That you've got to say, it just shows the difference between rugby and football. But it was a glamour friendly, and, you know, arguably the best stadium in Scotland, or one of. You know, a change of venue. I would have liked to have went, just to have said that I've seen Rangers play at Murrayfield. I couldn't make it. You know, it was against a huge team. So I didn't see the issue with it at all. It was just, apart from the ticket prices, which were absolutely astronomical for a pre-season friendly, I was perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another stick to beat, you know, somebody with, isn't it? But anyway, next game was the game last night, Wednesday, the 24th of July. It was away to Birmingham in the Trevor Francis Memorial, the inaugural one for that, and we lost 2-1. Obviously, the drama beforehand about Goldson as well. From what I can see, Dave, shambles in the first half, slightly better in the second, but that wouldn't be hard.
No, it was. It was a poor own goal of Tav in the first half, who, I've got to say, Derek, looked very, very uninterested, which to me showed me in the first half that he's definitely on his way, because, you know, we've maybe slagged off Tav in the past and stuff like that, but he's always at least sort of shown up for us, even if he's not played well, or he's crossing ability or defending, but he really didn't look interested last night at all. It was a very, very poor first half, Derek, really poor. There was a lot of changes in the team, don't get me wrong. Young Nsiala started at the back with Balogun, and Liam Kelly was in goals. But, you know, we were 2-0 down at half-time. Danilo did nothing, absolutely nothing up front. Either did, any of the wingers. And he changed that. He had Alec Lowry playing for the start as well, who also didn't show up. And it was actually bringing Scott Wright on, believe it or not, that changed it for Rangers, and Rangers were by far the better team in the second half. Conor Barron came on again and just completely changed the way that the team looked. He was first to every ball, but unfortunately, the maligned man that I have spoken about so many times, Derek, and you, and I'm not going in to say that you're his biggest fan, but big Cyril Dessers up front should have scored at least 2 in this game, clear-cut chances, but doing what, you know, he does worse, trying to take extra touches and just completely off boil. He was in great positions, constantly offside and stuff like that, and it wasn't to be. So a much better second half, don't get me wrong. We really shouldn't have been beaten in the match with the amount of chances we created, especially in the second half, but a very, very poor first half. But as you say, if we can take the positives from the way we played in the second half, and the manager surely has looked at certain players that have played well over the 3 games, and we can take that into the start of the league campaign, and that's the positives that we've got to take from it.
I mean, certainly one player that should be listened to is Leon Balogun. He done an interview after the game and he was absolutely raging, saying it's nowhere near good enough and it was embarrassing and all that. So, it takes Leon Balogun to come out and say that. So we'll see if anybody gets a reaction there. And the last game before the season kicks off is this Saturday coming, the 27th of July, away to Union Berlin. That's a 1600 kickoff. So again, Dave, I'm busy, so I'll not be watching that. I'll leave that up to you to cover.
Yeah, no, I will be watching it. I'll be watching it with the fact that surely this has got to be as close to the starting team that will play against Hearts in the opening game as we can get, because I don't know if we've got any other closed doors games before that. I just hope and pray, Derek, that we've got at least 2, if not 3, new signings who are ready to play, so that they can get some game time, because the manager needs to get them bedded in quickly if that is the case. Yeah,
and we'll wait and see. There might be a few outgoings as well, obviously the ones we've talked about. One player we never talked about the outgoing was Sam Lammers. Now, it seems that, he wants to stay in Holland, but, it's just about the clubs stumping up not only the transfer fee, but the wages as well. Apparently he's looking to, keep the massive wages he's on, and that's a wee bit too rich for these clubs. So I don't know what's going to happen with him. The player, the manager, if he does end up coming back, he can't afford not to have him in the squad, I don't think. So, we'll wait and see what happens there.
It's saying something there. I mean, I don't think we'll see him again. There's been quite a few rumours from, reliable sources that deals have been agreed, but apparently there's a couple of clubs that are in for him. I don't know how accurate the fees are, because I've seen a fee that I was like, if we can get that for him, we'll chop your hand off to take it. I am so fed up with Cyril Dessers at the moment, Derek, that I would maybe even be tempted to try him out up front, and that's saying something. And you know how I didn't rate him at all last year, but Big Cyril is just, I don't know if I can go through another season with him being our main striker. Derek, I really don't. I'm so frustrated with watching the guy. The one thing that I will say, though, about Cyril Dessers, right, but before we go any further, and it's going back to the Todd Cantwell thing, a lot of people have mentioned, and again, I don't know how true it is, that Cantwell is leaving because of the amount of stick that he's got from his own support and stuff like that in Scotland. If that's the case, Big Cyril has weathered it, because the amount of abuse that he gets online, and he's still willing to show up and still willing to go out there and play and show face. So I take my hat off to him there, but I really, really hope that we get something sorted up front. But we'll just have to wait and see, Derek. But I've got a feeling that Lammers will be away, and he'll be away quite quickly. I just hope it gets, these bits of businesses get done soon, because we do need players on the door as soon as.
Yep. So we'll now go into the news. So the first thing I've got to cover is we've finally migrated to a new ticketing system, apparently, and from what I've heard is somebody tried to book something and it worked fine, so yay, I suppose.
Yep, definitely. If it makes things running smoothly, I've not used it yet myself, but no doubt this season I will at some point, so just hope that if there was any issues, they were ironed out quite quickly. But as you say, it sounds quite positive just now. So,
yep. Talking of ironing out, our away top, our home top, and our third top was released in that order. Now, the away top was released first. The white, it's white with a blue collar and blue, red and red cuffs with a big blue shield crest like the 1997 top. Yep. There's an inlay of patterns featuring Ibrox, absolutely stunning, and I hoped the home top was like that in blue. However, it wasn't. It's blue with a diagonal stripe pattern and red piping. It's okay, Dave, not stunning. Of course, it'll become a great top if we are actually successful in it, like most tops. Yep. But Dave, how hard is it just to say, Great feedback on the away top. Let's make the home top the exact same but in blue.
And it seems like last season to be a sort of duller colour of blue rather than a more sort of piercing royal blue as well, which I'm not a fan of. But like you, the white away top, really classy, really absolutely cracking. Love the look of it. The third top though, Derek, which have just been released today, what's your first opinions on that one?
It's in keeping with third tops being crazy, put it that way. Yeah, I'm not a fan, to be honest.
No, I'm not a fan either, Derek. But again, we'll wait and see. If it turns out that they win all their games when they're wearing it, then they might change your mind. But no, big fan like you are of the white away kit. Really nice. The home top, so, and no fan of the third top.
No. Next thing, we have won our 5-figure compensation case against Dundee for the travel and accommodation costs for the postponements. A compensation that Dundee stated that they would not be paying, so I don't know if that's been paid yet or not, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Ahead of the WWE clash at the Castle at the Hydro last month, Drew McIntyre, along with WWE superstar Piper Niven and World's Strongest Man Tom Stoltman, visited Ibrox. All wearing the away tops. McIntyre also got inducted into the Scottish Wrestling Hall of Fame at Ibrox as well. So, great stuff.
No, great exposure, Derek. You know me, not into wrestling in the slightest. I know you and good friends Ewan and that are right into the wrestling. That doesn't float my boat, but I know the exposure that this guy gets, and the more exposure, the positive exposure he can get for the club, the better. So very pleased about that.
Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, it was great storytelling at Clash at the Castle, but CM Punk's a dickhead.
No idea what you're talking about, Derek. I don't know what a CM Punk is, and I certainly wouldn't like to get one or whatever it is, but I'll agree with you there.
Yes.
So it sounds like a nasty sort of rash or reaction to something I don't know, but I'll leave it at that.
Next thing here, in the King's Birthday Honours, Ali McCoist has been awarded an OBE for his services to football and broadcasting, and Graham Souness awarded a CBE for his services to football and charity. So absolutely fantastic there.
Fantastic, yes, superb. Congratulations to both.
Yes. So moving on to some non-Rangers news here. Premiership clubs have voted to ban plastic pitches from summer 2026, I believe the date is. Some Championship clubs like Falkirk are not too happy. The Falkirk chief was on the Big Football podcast saying that if they get promoted next season, they'll have to spend £1.5 million on grass and infrastructure rather than spending it on players, which means they might get relegated the following season, so are back to square one again. Boo-hoo is what I've got to say. If you're based your operating model on having your training, your academy and other revenue streams on your stadiums to have a plastic pitch, then you're not a serious club. He made the point that their pitch is Champions League standard for a plastic pitch. It's better than some grass pitches. That's the whole argument with the Dundee situation. Because of the negligence and the SPL executives' inability to dish out punishments, clubs have gotten away with poor maintenance of grass pitches. So if they were actually maintained properly, like they should be, then the Falkirk chief couldn't make that claim about his plastic pitch better than being a grass pitch.
As you know, Derek, it's my sort of the closest stadium to where I live, and my son has played on that pitch umpteen times. I've been on the pitch myself. For it being a plastic pitch, it is a very, very good pitch. But like you say, the infrastructure that Falkirk Football Club have got is like non-existent. They got rid of their youth teams. They got rid of everything like that. And as for them getting promoted next year, I'm no being cheeky, and I don't think there'll be any Falkirk fans listening, but I don't think he's got anything to worry about there, Derek. Let's be perfectly honest.
Next thing, Sky viewing figures apparently rose by 2.5 million people last season. That's despite not showing all of their contracted games, I believe. Good all round, but it just shows you how much we're getting shortchanged by this TV deal. Not Sky's fault, Neil Doncaster's fault.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. Speaking of Doncaster and TV deals, it apparently went out to tender this time, but Premier Sports will be shown an additional 20 games per season on top of the 60 Sky could show. It appears it's only worth £10 million over 5 seasons, so it's absolutely pitiful. It does tie in with the end of that deal does tie in with the end of the Sky deal, so hopefully a full redo of the deals will be done after that. Once again, though, it's not good for the fans having another subscription to pay for. I think this is a regulated thing by the governing body, so that there's not a monopoly by one company, but it does absolutely nothing for fans when they're having to shell out once again for another top tier subscription.
100%, yeah.
Another apparent Doncaster record-breaking deal without any details. William Hill is going to be the new title sponsor for the Premiership, Championships and League 1 and 2. No term time was given, no details of money given, no details if they had to get a consultancy firm in to bring it in like they did with the Cinch deal when they brokered that. No details if they have got a get-out-early clause like the Cinch deal done. But Dave, Doncaster says it's a record-breaking deal, so who are we to talk about that?
Exactly. How dare we question it, Derek?
Yes. Next thing, UEFA coefficient rankings came out with both Rangers and Celtic slipping down from last season. We are 28th, but we absolutely dwarf Celtic because they are in 69th. So we've got another 2 seasons of the Seville run to go, I think. So it's imperative we have a half-decent run this season and next season to keep the coefficient up.
Yeah, no, it would be good that we could, and we've got these massive Champions League qualifiers coming up, and I know we've spoken about it before, Derek. I know that after how badly we've done the last time we qualified for the Champions League, but I just think with the position that the club is in financially, I just think it's imperative that they can do everything they can to get qualified for the group stages of the Champions League and then go from there, but only time will tell.
Yes. So, Dave, it comes to this situation now. I've no stories, so we'll go to our tried and tested favourite Twitter site.
Yep. You've even got me going on to it now, Derek, and firing over stories to you to highlight them. That's it. That's what you've introduced me to.
Nearly 50-year-old bloke here. The worst thing about hitting this age is that my urine stream is no longer strong enough to get rid of the toilet skid marks from a previous shit. Every man has done that.
I've not reached that stage yet, Derek. I'm nearly there, but I've not reached that stage yet.
Went to a sex swappers club as a single guy. I won several games of pool in a row and stayed on as nobody could beat me. I was asked to join a couple for a threesome but turned it down. Told them I had already come earlier, but it really was just to continue my streak on the pool table. The most depressing aspect of contemplating my own mortality and inevitable death is that the awful realisation that one day, maybe soon, maybe a long time from now, I'm going to have my last ever wank.
Oh dear.
I've just booked my dental appointment for 2:30. Still makes me laugh. I'm aged 48. Wife recently found a battered sausage and a load of chips in our garden. We spent most of the evening theorising its origin. It was me. She came home early one day and caught me mid-lunch. We were on a diet. I panicked and launched it out the window, intended to collect it later. I forgot. Tried brewing alcohol. First batch was a monumental failure and went down the drain. Second batch was a success, but it tasted so weak and like it had a low ABV. So I drank it all quick. Woke up the next afternoon in a bush in my boxers, 21 miles from my home. No idea how I got there.
Oh, superb.
And I'll make this the last one, Dave, because it's on a similar note that you liked the last time. When I trim my toenails, I'll have a cursory chew of the smaller ones. The daddy nails I'll often dip in some Branston pickle for some extra tang and the munch on the way down.
Oh, that's fucking gross. Oh dearie dear! It still doesn't beat the first one, Derek. That one about the toenail the very first time. That'll go down in history. I'll never forget that. I've actually bookmarked that tweet because I like to go back every now and again and have a wee chuckle at that one. But no, very good, very good.
On that note, we will end the podcast. So it's been a trying time over the summer, but we'll see what the rest of the transfer window brings us. Dave or I will be back with a post-match, good or bad or indifferent, for the game against Hearts as well.
Yeah.
So all I can say is really keep the heat, everyone. It's a long season. As much as things can go completely tits up early on, you've seen what happened last year. And for a very small point, we were a ball hair away from actually doing something from being way far back. So always keep believing, as Big Marv said.
Yep, I couldn't put it any better myself, Derek. You've said it all.
Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Take care, folks. Bye-bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.